Hello and welcome to All Elite Morro, where the best talk wrestling. Yes! Yes! Thank you, Ronan, for the new tagline. What do you think of the new tagline, folks? I think it is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to start because the chat lags about 30 seconds behind me. So I always try and kill time at the start to see if there's anyone actually watching the thing. Like, I don't get any viewership stuff on the screen for about 30 seconds to a minute. So this is just me killing time. Killing time. And to do that, I'm going to say like, subscribe, comment. All Elite Morro was responsible for about 2 subscribers last week. We also had Total Extreme Morro. Round 16 of the tournament took place last Wednesday. That was a good episode. It didn't have the emotional drama of the Deviers by my man. It didn't have the emotional stakes of the previous episode where the champ Vader went down injured. But let me tell you, the next episode, episode 6, is recorded. It's being released Wednesday. 12:30, just in time for lunch. It's a tight 52 minutes. It's sensational. It's my best work ever on a screen. Ever. I think, anyway. I loved it. Loved it. I can't wait for that to come out. That was a banger. So yeah, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I know Shane's been busy this weekend. Frankie Vendetta was wrestling, so Shane had to go watch. What better be good, Shane? Shane's in the comments. And a big congratulations to Shane. Shane suffered from a weak knee on Sunday, I believe. So congratulations to Shane and Diane. Sound like a radio presenter. Big congratulations to Shane and Diane. Amazing news. Well done, Shane. 2 rings now. We can do a War Games in Shane's house. The tagline is awesome. That was Ronan who came up with the tagline, not me. And it's brilliant. I'm suffering from a touch of a cough. Oisin McCarthy says, as a response on the Instagram, after his promo on Wednesday, I need to see Mox murder Darby at Wrestle Dream. I quit match. That's going to be utterly insane. Utterly insane. Ronan C comes in to congratulate Shane. Good man, Ronan. But look, folks, let's focus on the wrestling now. Don't mind Shane. And then Shane O'Beef, I wonder who that is, responding to our own Instagram. Differences in live wrestling and TV wrestling, as we were like kids during the OTT main event on Saturday night. As you can see from my hat, new OTT wrestling hat, I was up in Carlow at the OTT tour on Saturday. Such a great experience. Like, it's just so much fun going to live wrestling. I've said this numerous times on this podcast. If you're ever kind of suffering with your enjoyment of wrestling, just go to your local indie. It's just the most fun. Shane was backstage doing his thing, watching Frankie wrestle, and then I love the way we all just play into Shane's delusion of having a split personality disorder. But anyway, then he came out for the main event. Will I be at the drop of the show? Do you know what, Aaron? I'm thinking. I checked up the drive time today. I work some Saturdays. I run my own business and it's hard to get staff on Saturdays. So sometimes I have to work on Saturdays. But what I'm thinking is I could close a little bit early because Saturdays aren't busy and hit the road, and I could make Drogheda in time. So I am actually considering going to the Drogheda show. Are you going, Aaron? Where's my ES Tate hat? I'll never get an ES Tate hat. Unless, of course, he pays me to wear the hat on the stream. Then I wear it. Another congratulations, JB67. Jamie over in Scotland. Wife gave birth to a baby boy. Wee boy last week. Congratulations, Jamie. He's watching from the hospital. What a man. Congrats, JB. That's great news. Good news all round on All Elite Morro tonight. Between Shane and JB, the lads are doing it. Building families. That's great news. Family. Imagine having a... Oh, I'm 38 years of age. I still can't imagine being responsible for taking care of a child. I have a niece who's a baby, like very small baby, and yeah, I look after her as long as there's other adults around to help me. But sister left me on my own minding the baby one day for about a half an hour. I was shitting it. So best of luck, Jamie. Thanks, Dave. Dave M. Yup, tomorrow. Aaron says he's there for sure in Drogheda. Best pint in Drogheda is about 30 seconds from the venue. Oh, do you know, Dave has 3. It's overrated. I assume by the time you get to the second or third one, it's just like, yeah, it'll be grand. But with your first one, you're probably shitting it all the time. Wee Frankie is doing great. Is that, did you name your son Frankie? Because my niece is called Frankie. Who's, what is she now about? She's not 6 months yet, is she? 5 months, I suppose, yeah. El Juggalo, whoop whoop. Great news all around to start off the show. Look at us, not complaining about wrestling, having a good time. Yeah, so went to the OTT show in Carlow. You had a tough time saying, I did have a tough time saying Mr. Snrub, so I changed the name to Dave. Thank you, Dave. I can just say Dave. I can easily pronounce Dave. Up in Carlow, at the wrestling, tight 2-hour show, little interval in the middle, so I could hit my vape. That's always good. Load of great wrestling on it. Jeez, Jimmy, my father's also called Frankie. That's why my niece is called Frankie. My father's called Frank. My niece is called Frankie. That is mental. Jesus. The gift that keeps on giving. Frankie's a great name. I'm kind of jealous that my sister got there first, because if I ever have a kid now, can I call the kid Frankie as well after my father? Sister got there first. Hard to know. That's mental. Look at that. 4 Franks. I'm seeing double. 4 Frankies. JCW is highly underrated as well. Yeah, Juggalo Championship Wrestling, definitely. Got a week showing you called JCW. See which airs on Thursday nights. We'll be checking that out, El Juggalo. So yeah, I'm up at OTT, sitting there in the back row. Tight 2 hours of wrestling. Main event comes on. Shane comes out from the back, sits down beside your boy All Elite Morro. Big Bad Dirty Nicky versus Big Damo for the OTT World Heavyweight Championship. And it is an absolute whale of a time. We were marking out like kids. And there was loads of kids there, and they were marking out like us. Damo beats Big Bad Dirty Nicky in like 15 minutes. Just super fun. And you sit down and you watch TV wrestling, it's great, but oh god, just being at your local indie is like just the most fun ever. And that's why I'm considering making the 2-hour drive up to Drogheda on Saturday. There was other great matches on the card as well. Guillermo and Callum Black versus Bullet Smith and Renzo Rose. That was excellent. Tremendous fun match. Tommy Flynn's singles debut against Bittersweet Josh. Tremendously fun match. The Frankie Vendetta 6-man tag, the Freaks. I think, are you going by the Freaks, or I'm not sure what they're going by. The Weirdos, maybe it is, or something like that. Again, super fun match. The opener was a limo match, and I didn't catch the guy's name, Bruni or something, Italian guy, Bruni or Bruno. Again, super fun match. Limo so over with the kids there. It was brilliant. Jay versus, who was Jay wrestling? That was a good match too. Who did Jay wrestle? The Weirdos. Thank you, Frankie Vendetta, or Shane, I should say. Who did Jay wrestle? That was how could I forget? Chainsaw Luke Frehel. Great match too. So the matches, banger matches up and down the card. Big win for Boots with that piece of shit ES Tate in his corner. ES Tate is now edging closer to his dream of being the Irish Bobby Heenan. So yeah, I just had such a great time. I was marking out so many times on the show. I thought BDE, Big Bad Dirty Nicky, and Bittersweet Josh just stole the show. Tommy Flynn played a blinder in his match and in helping Damo in the main event. Aaron says Damo been such a good champ. When somebody finally beats him, the roof will blow off. Yeah. When I used to do Insider with Shane and ES Tate, I predicted, I think, a 700-day reign. We must be, what are we? We're over 365 now. It was last August, I think, when he won the title. So we are getting into the range where I predicted 700. We're getting into that range. God, the chat is flying. I'm kind of lost here. Scott Steiner will be coming for Frankie V if they were with the Freaks. I could see Frankie V all dressed up beside Scott Steiner. Yeah, Boots managed by Tate is going up against Carlito in Drogheda this weekend. Like the Carlito. Boots caught a sensational promo on him on OTT Insider last week, which is now linked directly to the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show page on YouTube. Caught a great promo on him. Tate in his corner against Carlito. What an opportunity for Boots. But that's one of the reasons why I want to go to the show in Drogheda. I think that match will be a lot of fun. The rest of the card looks really good too. I might put it up there towards the end if I can get it easy. When are we getting Tate versus Damo? Not soon enough, Ronan. Not soon enough. But yeah, so loads going on. And then Oshin said he wants... Did I even respond to that? I think things got wild in the chat. Oshin said Vampiro is accompanying Team JCW in that War Games match. I am definitely checking that out. That's a sick lineup. The GCW Fight Club this coming Saturday. Effie, Joy Janela, Matt Tremont on one team. Mr. Danger. Cocaine is involved. Sensational. Yeah, I'll get into the... Oshin had the question about... or not even the question, just his thoughts on Mox versus Darby and wanting Mox to murder Darby. I do have a little section here today on Wrestle Dream, so we'll get into that then. Just going to start with a little bit of news, which, you know, makes a fool out of me, because I've been saying for weeks that the Tanahashi retirement tour isn't really helping ticket sales for New Japan, and I was right about that. It hasn't, like, throughout the G1. Ticket sales were a complete disaster, down year over year in basically every venue. In some cities, they had to change venues they downsized venues they were using. But they had the first day release of ticket sales for the WrestleKingdom, which is, you know, officially Tanahashi's retirement match. They sold over 20,000 tickets for WrestleKingdom on the first day of release. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday last week. I'm shocked. I am shocked. Tanahashi is still a draw. His retirement... Okay, look, the tour itself hasn't been a draw. But it goes to show people are... his final match is a draw. Whatever, that's not announced yet. We don't know what it is. I just hope it's not evil or something crap like that. I don't know if they could bring back Okada or fucking Naito or something for one of his, like, career rivals. That'd be sensational. But to do 20,000 tickets day one, like, the highest amount of tickets they sold for the Tokyo Dome January 4th show since COVID is about 27,000. Last year was around 24,000. I think they're going to blow all the post-COVID shows out of the water. You know, really, I suppose there's only been 3, because 2022, they were still doing social distancing ones where they had 10,000. They did it over 2 nights and released 10,000 tickets per night. So they had 20,000 over 2 nights. 2023, they had a decent one. It's a crazy one. That's Okada versus Jay White and Omega versus Ospreay. All 4 guys gone from the company now. Aaron Reynolds said it should be Okada. Really, as his career rival, I think it should be Okada as well. Although, you know, I still want to catch the Okada in the main event. But they're not under pressure to try and get Okada anymore because they've sold 20,000 tickets. The Okada Jay White one, along with Ospreay Omega, that did about 27,000, which was a great draw at the time. And if they, you know, the 2024 I think was that Naito and Sanada dropped to about 25,000. And then 2025, that was Shota Umino and Zack. That dropped to, was it like 23,500? So it's going to blow, I think, all the post-COVID WrestleKingdoms out of the water. Tanahashi still has it, the ace. And look, it's only fair, like, the guy is one of the most important figures in New Japan Pro Wrestling's history. Like, that company, when he emerged, he carried that company on his back for a few years and got the ship righted, like, because things were looking bleak mid to late 2000s until Tanahashi really started to kick into gear. Probably around 06, 07, maybe, like a little bit then. But Juggalo says, honestly, I think Noah, All Japan, and Dragon Gate might overtake New Japan in the near future. Like, I don't think All Japan will. All Japan are such a weird company. They get on a good run. It's like they don't know what they want to do. Like, what? Like, they built Yuma Anzai, and then they realized that the Saito brothers could draw really well in a couple of cities. So then they're just like, right, I forget about Anzai. Let's take the title off him really quick and put, well, not really quick, but like, you know, let's take the title off Anzai and center the company around the Saitos. And the Saitos are drawing really well in 2 cities, but not everywhere else. And now they've damaged Anzai. I think until All Japan sort their shit out, I can't see him catching New Japan until they get like a clear vision. Now, I will be talking about another company later that I do think might overtake. Noah have been on a great run, particularly with Ozawa in the main event. I think they're the most likely company to challenge New Japan in some sense. Now, the one thing that New Japan have that none of the others have is they'll always be able to put 20k-ish into Tokyo Dome on the 4th of January because they've established that's like an institution now. It's become like a WrestleMania. So despite the fact that like all the mid-year stuff is not drawing well, the G1 is not drawing well, they'll still have the Tokyo Dome. So Goshi Ozaki, Shane, has basically just left Noah. He said, like, it's not a retirement. His words were, essentially, it sounded, now I read obviously a translated version, so you know, sometimes things can be lost in translation. Japan, Bill Murray. What? Didn't mean to do that. Sometimes things can be lost in translation. I think the Goshiozaki thing seems to be basically creative differences. He wants to do something stylistically different. A lot of people are reading into that, and I don't know where they're making this leap. Is that it's something to do with the relationship with WWE? I don't know, that might be a stretch, but I think it's more of a, we kind of wait and see what that leads to. Cyber Fight to Noah, TJPW and DDT is essentially like what Bushiroad is to New Japan and Stardom. Yep. Cyber Fight are a huge company as well. That's kind of underrated, that the fact that they are backing several of kind of, you know, fairly highly rated companies or fairly highly well funded and well known companies. And see, another thing is All Japan don't have the backing like a Bushiroad or a Cyber Fight that Noah or New Japan have, and that's why I think All Japan will struggle when it comes to competing with those. And I like when Nagata went over there a few years ago, there was like serious rumors that he was trying to poach Yuma Anzai for All Japan or for New Japan. And I think those rumors are kind of coming back. There is kind of some rumors swirling that Yuma Anzai may end up in New Japan, and if that was to happen, that would be a major blow for All Japan, because I think the Saitos are good. They're not unbelievable. They're good. They're quite exciting. And they are very good draws in a couple of areas. But there is going to be a point. I think they have limited appeal is what I'm trying to say. And there is going to come a point over the next couple of years where that appeal of the Saitos will fade. And if they don't have a Yuma Anzai in place, because Kento Miyahara is just getting too old now. He's brilliant. He's just getting too old. I just think that if they lose Yuma Anzai, they're in major bother for when the Saito's cool, because everyone cools at some stage. You have several indie promotions that are very stable. Yeah, Big Japan, Dragon Gate, Zero One does great stuff from time to time. Dragon Gate, like, always does great stuff. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but they might be, along with Stardom, the two best companies at the minute for developing young talent. So like Dragon Gate are, because of the young talent they develop and how quickly that talent gets very good, they're always going to have a very like stable base, and they've got a very loyal fan base as well. Big Japan struggled the last few years, but a lot of people kind of talking about making somewhat of a comeback. Let's get on to the ratings. Okay, so I think this is potentially disastrous for professional wrestling in general. This is something I've mentioned a few times the last few weeks about the change in how Nielsen are capturing the data of viewership. And the change has really gone into effect in the last 2 weeks. And the easiest figures I could get to break down like this were from WrestleNomics 2 weeks ago, so the 24th of September, which really broke down the differences between the old system and the new system. And I'm not going to labor on this because numbers are fucking boring. But I'm just going to give maybe 2-3 examples of this initially, and then see, this doesn't have SmackDown, and SmackDown was hit bad from it as well. But I'm just going to give a couple of examples of what this means, of what has happened, and then kind of give my opinion on what I think this means going forward. So if we look at 23rd of September, NXT, it would have been under the old data capture, which is panel only. This is what we're used to. And the new version is big data plus panel. This is the new methodology for Nielsen capturing the ratings. Basically, what's happened is panel was, if you had a Nielsen box, your data was captured and then that was extrapolated among the greater population. Under big data plus panel, they're still doing the panel capture, but they're not extrapolating that data to the same extent. They're using another system they have now that they've developed called big data, which can capture data now from things like smart TVs, top set boxes, stuff like that. So the base of data they're capturing is much bigger than it was before, and it's less of an extrapolation. What this has meant is, it turns out, essentially, that there's not as many people watching any wrestling as what Nielsen was previously reporting. The fact that they have extended their base of data capture has shown us that wrestling is not as popular as we thought it was. If we look across the board here, right, we have NXT. Under the old system, they would have had a 0.17. Under the new one, that's down 28%, down to a 0.12. All Elite Dynamite on the Wednesday, under the old system, they would have had a 0.14. Under the new system, they're down 20% to a 0.11. Collision was actually up. Now, Collision, it has such a heavy variance anyway, it's hard to put any real credence in that. SmackDown was another one that was down, I think, 17%. This first week of October's ones were even worse. NXT was down 41%, and Dynamite was down, was it 28%? So NXT were down 41%, and Dynamite was down somewhere around the 30% range. Like, it basically, like, and also if you look, this isn't hurting many other types of viewership. Like, right, we have Gutfield is up 6%, Hannity on Fox is up a percentage. Major League Baseball is up 14% on what it would have been reported as. Now, that was a huge match. They were coming towards the playoffs. And college football remained the same. So, here's the thing, right? Despite the fact this week Dynamite or NXT was down 41%, I actually think NXT are basically the safest of everyone because they're paid the least. and CW just isn't that big of a channel in terms of what it has a very big base, like it has a very wide viewership. It's in like it's one of the channels in the most homes in the whole country, far more homes than TNT or TBS, but they're not an established channel in terms of what they can get for advertising revenue. So they don't have that much money. So what they're paying NXT is 25 million to 30 million a year. Like that's margins below, or like just so much below what AEW are getting at 185 million a year, and what WWE main roster shows are getting at, over 250, 300 in some cases a year. So I think they're pretty safe. For AEW, I think this is, I'm not going to say like a disaster or anything, because we don't have the max numbers. So maybe WBD and TNT and TBS are delighted with the max numbers and they're going to stay paying them a bag. But in general, it's expected that this will cause a hit to the wrestling industry of about 15%. So yeah, and like you look at the Raw viewership, maybe we should have known this, because the Raw viewership on Netflix is fucking catastrophic. It's catastrophic. Last week's is the lowest watched Raw of all time. Of all time. So maybe we should have known when Raw went to Netflix, a platform with 300 million viewers, and at the minute it's pulling in 2.3 million viewers over the course of a whole week, over the course of the whole world. We probably should have known that people just aren't fucking watching wrestling. It's more niche than we thought. We know it's niche. We're super fans. But it's niche. And it's more niche than we thought. So, I don't know, will the industry itself, because these TV deals have been getting crazier and crazier and crazier. Like when the last WWE negotiations came out and they were making like over $1 billion a year between Netflix and USA, and now they're adding ESPN onto that. That company's getting paid like $1.3 billion per year on their TV deal. There's no way they're popular enough to warrant that. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is gone crazy. And then when AEW were getting in the vicinity of 200 million a year, I'm like, this is a 6-year-old company that gets less than 1 million viewers a week, and they're getting 185 million up to 200 million a year. Like, the numbers just got crazy. So I wonder, and I think in the region of about 15%, will there be a course correction in the next round of media right negotiations? El Juggalo there made a really good point. These TV deal issues are only going to help indie wrestling more. Yes, I think so. I think these companies in the, not so much the short term, but definitely the medium to long term, they're going to have to probably rethink how they build their rosters. And the ones that, what they'll end up doing is the big stars will still get paid, but a lot of the lower contracts will go away, and all those wrestlers will end up back on the indies, and we could have another indie boom. So yeah, I think that's I think that is a very big potential. Sorry, I'm reading. Nielsen is also down the water in regards to the ratings, to the point that YouTube views are more accurate. That's crazy as well, because YouTube views, like, the real, I suppose, thing about YouTube views is what counts as a view. Like, someone clicks onto a video for 5 seconds, it counts as a view, but like, are advertisers going to respect that viewership? No. But then, YouTube, like, the depth that we get on our side is cool. Me and Shane talk about the whole time. We're like, we see average watch time, we see where the dips are in each show. It's so in depth, and Nielsen are nowhere near that. Ronan says, I thought I'd watch WWE more once I went to Netflix, but it's just not good TV. Yeah. Also, Ronan, and this, I think, a question for everyone in the chat there. Does it being too convenient on Netflix, it's all right. The fact it's on Netflix for a week, how many times since January have you gone, I'll watch that Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night, or whatever, whenever I have time? It's not appointment viewing anymore. So how many people in America who would have watched it every week on USA have now broken the habit of watching it live, because they have, in their mind, the ability to watch it later in the week, but then never get around to it? and then they've broken the habit of watching. I think that's a huge thing. Because so much, especially in January, February, when the whole thing started, I'd often say to myself, oh God, I'll watch this on Wednesday or Thursday. And then I never get around to it. Juggalo. So the majority of the time you watched it live on Netflix. Is there a few times, or is there any times where you've not watched it live, intended to watch it later in the week, and then just didn't bother? In my head, I think that's a big issue. I don't know if I'm just making that up or not, though. Depends now if I hear it's good or not. That's a big thing, Ronan. I'm the same. If I read the next day or see tweets about it being shit or whatever, I'm not going to go and watch it. Aaron says he never stays up for Raw anymore. So easy to stick it on next morning with Netflix. Yeah. Oshin says the vast majority of times I watch it, it's later on during the week. If it's not good enough a product, it's not good enough product still up to watch at 1 a.m. in the morning. It's just not. El Juggalo then says I sometimes just skipped it entirely instead of watching it later on. Yeah, that's what I think is happening a lot in terms of wider viewership is so down. But I think that's probably, like Ronan said earlier on, an issue of it being not good TV. If we all woke up on Tuesday mornings and there was a buzz in our WhatsApp group or a buzz on in our Twitter feed about Raw being unbelievable, we'd probably make time to watch it. I don't know. Yeah, so I think this is kind of dodgy news for all companies. Maybe, as Juggalo pointed out, it could be good for the indies. It could mean more workers are staying on the indies for longer. But look, this is very early days. It's too early to make any prediction really of what this means. I'm just getting a prediction out there early in case I'm right, so I can come back here in 12 months and say, see, I told you so. And if I'm wrong, I'll just never mention it again. In fairness, I did mention again about the Tanahashi thing when I said I thought if New Japan don't get Okada for the Tokyo Dome ticket sales are in trouble. I was wrong. Tanahashi's last match is a bigger draw than I thought it would be. El Juggler then says nowadays let's check out what's... See, that's another big thing El Juggler about YouTube. The WWE posts too much of the main stuff to YouTube anyway. Like David Ayers there says, never watched it on Netflix, I stuck to the clips on YouTube. They basically put everything on YouTube. Like anything worth watching off the show is put onto YouTube, like almost instantly. So why would you bother? If you're not going to watch it live, why would you bother watching the thing when you can just watch the 4 or 5 important things that happened, or if we were going to say good things, the one good thing that happened on the YouTube. Next up, we get the NXT versus TNA Showdown happening tomorrow night. There's a few people in this chat I know are old enough to remember the WCW WWE Invasion. The biggest problem with that is they didn't have access to the likes of Goldberg, Hogan, Nash, Hall immediately. Okay? The second biggest problem, and actually maybe even a bigger problem, because I think they could have dealt with the first problem had they not have done the second problem. They muddied the whole thing by putting WWE stars with WWE stars in charge of like WCW stars that had McMahon's with each promotion and all this shit, right? And it just became a total clusterfuck of nonsense. And they squandered what should have been their biggest and best storylines of all time. This thing wrote itself. Like, we wanted this for years. El Juggler says the biggest promotions in the indies started by Reach, GCW, JSW, DPW, Hog, Wrestler Valor, UWN, MLW. MLW are an indie, definitely, I think. And they do sign some wrestlers to contracts. Big fan of DPW at the moment. I think they're doing great stuff. And Ronan says, young lads like me and you, Morrow, won't remember the WCW invasion. Yes, Ronan, young lads like me and you won't remember. You're forgetting. My wrinkles are on the screen. I can't. You're over there now. Some people in the chat have never seen you. Now, if they'd seen you, they'd know you were old enough to remember. But they can see me, everyone. I can't pretend I didn't watch every bit of the WCW invasion on TV at the time. And it was so crap. It was like the biggest... I would say it lost insane levels of fans for WWE. At DPW, the tape delay is a problem, but there's so much wrestling on that it's hard to keep on top of things as they're happening live anyway. So with and now TNA and NXT are doing this, and by right, I think this is a really good idea. I think doing a TNA invasion style thing of NXT is a fantastic idea, right? Brilliant idea. Should be money. Should be exciting. In fact, it'd be even better if they did a TNA style invasion of the main roster, but obviously they're never going to allow the Mike Santanas and Frankie Kazarians, DDP the fucking stalker. Jesus Christ. Everyone was a geek on the WCW side, so they needed Stone Cold to lead them, or they needed Kurt Angle. Oh, painful. They needed Stephanie and Shane. Like, and now, right, if we go down this card here, actually, I think the main event looks pretty good, or what I assume is the main event. Team NXT of Ricky Sands, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Miles Bourne versus Team TNA of Mike Santana, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater. No issues with this. No issues. Because Mike Santana, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater, to me, are TNA guys. Particularly Moose. He's like TNA, like true and true. Frankie Kazarian left AEW. Mike Santana left AEW to bet themselves, try and be top guys somewhere else. Went to TNA. Frankie was in TNA before he was ever in AEW anyway. And Leon Slater, his first big contract in the United States is with TNA. These are TNA guys against NXT guys. No problem with this match in general. However, why is Joe Hendry the special guest referee? Like, it's such nonsense. Such nonsense. There's no need for him to be the special guest referee. They're shoehorning him in to do his dumb gimmick. Oh, God. Anyway, right. I'll get over that. This is where things get real annoying. So Team NXT and the ladies, Jessie Jane, Jada Parker, Sol Ruka, and Lola Vice, fine. Versus Team TNA, the captain of Team TNA, Kalani Jordan, an NXT wrestler. Jessie McKay, former NXT WWE wrestler. Cassie Lee, former NXT WWE wrestler. And Mara Said, who's that, you might ask? It's Jakara Jackson, former NXT wrestler. What are we like? This is what the leader of the team is currently contracted to NXT. This was the problem with the original invasion and why it sucked ass so much. Every member of the female team TNA is more associated with their time in WWE than they are with their time in TNA. Every one of them. It's just crap. Right, let's get on. Let's just move on. The Hardys versus Dark State. Winner takes all TNA Tag Team Championships and NXT Tag Team Champions. At Dark State, Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin are the NXT team. Not Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, who are more associated with WWE than TNA. Ethan Page versus Mustafa Ali. It's actually hard to know who the TNA representative is in here, because if you're not watching, you might think it's Ethan Page because he seems like a TNA type of wrestler. But no, it's Mustafa Ali, who's more associated with his time in WWE. Are we starting to see the problem here? Dave says Joe Hendry is there for the memes. That's literally why. That's literally why. David Ayers says Moose is arguably more of a TNA guy now than Joe or AJ Styles. I'd actually agree with that. Like, how long is Moose there? He's there. Moose feels like he's there 10 years, maybe more. Like, I've no issue with the TNA team in the main event match. I think that's actually a very well put together TNA team of guys who feel like they're TNA, particularly Mike Santana, because yeah, we all remember him in AEW, and he was in TNA before that. So Frankie Kazarian was in TNA before AEW. Everyone here is kind of guys who got their first big break or the main bulk of their contract, like proper contracted career, not like on the indies, but the main bulk of their contracted career has been with TNA. I think this, around 2015, Claire, thank you. So he's there 10 years. So, like, Moose is true and true TNA. I have no issues with this team. I think, like, actually, I think this is a really interesting match. And I know Joe Hendry's there, and it's probably Joe Hendry's probably there to screw Team TNA in some way, shape, or form. But who's the baby faces here as well, and who's the heels? I just don't know. The irony is, you point out wrestlers associated with a specific promotion. There are wrestlers on the indies who are more known for stuff with specific indies. Yeah. Some of these people are even. Madman Pondo and Congo King. Yeah, they're very well associated with JCW. They're like some of the main names I would think of when I think of that promotion. So yeah, this is my issue with this, is that in 3 of the 4 matches, the TNA representatives feel like they're WWE guys. And it seems to me that this TNA experiment has become a way for WWE to still use guys and not have to pay them the full WWE rate. Like Mustafa Ali is going to get paid by WWE to take part tonight in NXT. It's not as part of his TNA contract. He will get a show appearance from WWE tonight. So good, he's making extra money. However, it becomes a way now of WWE, if WWE release a wrestler on X amount of money, they're probably not going to get the same offer off TNA for the money that we're on in WWE. But they'll probably sign for less because, you know, they've been released and they need to work. So they'll take less money to work in TNA. And then WWE can use them on kind of once-off deals, one-night deals, handshake deals, appearance fees, and not, you know, that'll be their way of cutting their, because we see it all over the place. They are cutting everything to the bone as they make more and more money. And yeah, I just think this is bad for the industry in general. But just as a show itself, I'm going to watch that 8-man tag. The men's one, and I'm not going to watch the rest of it because I just can't do it. I want to see the TNA guys. I want to see Mike Santana, Frankie, Moose, and Leon. Well, mostly Mike and Leon. I like Moose as well, but I've seen a lot of him in recent times. So, yeah, look, that's just frustrating. It's just frustrating because they're making the same mistakes they made 25 years ago, 24 years ago, in what should have been an unbelievable story. Also, look, this thing is just, there's been no real build to this. Does anyone else think there's been no build to this? I feel like TNA all started tweeting one night, and then the next Tuesday they all ran in and took over the ring, and 2 weeks later we're doing the big show. That's it. This should have been built for ages. You could have had loads of cool things happening. EC3 has his own territory in NWA, ironically. Nice. Probably won't watch a whole lot of that. You see the best stuff on YouTube in a 5-minute video. That is a fact. Yeah. I'll watch this back on YouTube. Wrestle Dream. 3 matches announced. Some more rumoured. We get Darby Allin and Jon Moxley in an I Quit match. That's going to be wild. No two ways about it. That'll be wild. We have Hangman versus Samoa Joe. I loved the setup for this. It was reminiscent of Joe and Takayama. Well, no, it wasn't Takayama. It was Marashima. Who was that all Joe on with? Was it Marashima? Where they bumped on the outside of the ring. One of the great angles of all time. Ronan, help me out here. Help me, Ronan, quick. But yeah, so just, you can instantly, and I'm so happy this happened because this happened the same day basically that me and Shane recorded the next pod that's coming out on the channel. We did a look back on our fond memories of the NXT Black and Gold, and I was all about Samoa Joe. And then just anytime you need anything, you activate Samoa Joe. You press the activate button and the guy just goes, I'm a main event badass instantly. There's nobody better at that in wrestling over the last 20 years. Maybe Moxley. Maybe not even, actually. I don't think there's anyone better than just activating Samoa Joe into main event mode. You just pat the guy in the back, press a button, whatever it is, and he just goes beast mode. And they just created so much excitement, and I'm all in for that. I think that's going to be a fantastic match, and it makes perfect sense because Moxley failed twice against Joe last year. He failed twice against, not Moxley, Hangman failed twice against Joe last year when Joe was champion, over a year ago now. Hangman failed twice, and it'll be a great win for him, and it gives him instant credibility, and these guys will hit each other really hard, and it'll be fantastic. And then they made official, I suppose, the Chris Statlander and their Timeless Tony Storm singles match on Collision in what I again thought was just a tremendous piece of segment promo. I don't know what to call it. It was just done so differently. And I thought both of their performances was just sensational. I loved the promos. I loved the way it was done. These two are firing on all cylinders. Tony Storm is just really at the talk about being on top of your game. Claire says WWE NXT don't seem to know how to build stories anymore. In fact, that seems to be happening across the board. AEW a bit guilty of that too. Totally agree. There's so much now happening. WWE and NXT are extremely guilty of it, but as you said, AEW are a little bit guilty of it too, where they just pull the trigger on things very, very quickly. And, I do argue that sometimes you should just, sometimes the storyline is designed for 4 weeks and it should happen over 4 weeks and that's it. You pay it off at one pay-per-view, bang, job done. But when all of your storylines feel like that, or feel undercooked, that's a problem. I think AEW are in a little bit of that at the moment. WWE, even their long storylines don't feel very well thought out. The thing there is, their long storylines feel like they're being dragged out for the sake of dragging them out. Whereas everything else feels undercooked. Even their long storylines don't feel undercooked. That's the weird thing. Like the CM Punk and Seth Rollins thing feels like every month we have to come up with a new hook to keep this thing going, rather than what is the next logical step. Well, we're probably really at payoff time now. We've been at payoff time since January, but they're just finding new ways of getting it. Can we extract another month out of this? Can we extract another month out of this? And even the Hangman and Samoa Joe match feels a bit like that. What Claire is saying there about being a lack of a story build. In some cases, I don't mind that, and this is one of those cases. Mainly, and the reason, I'll be totally upfront, the reason I don't mind that in this case, it's a face versus face match. And you don't need a super long story for face versus face. And here's my upfront part is, I absolutely love the style these two guys work. And this match, the matchup of their styles, is catered to what I like as a fan. So I'm assuming I'm going to love this match. Therefore, I'm willing to forgive how it's come together. And also, it is reminiscent in design of what I thought was one of the coolest Ring of Honor angles they've ever shot. So I'm the target audience. This is why some of this shit happens, because I exist. I'm literally the target audience for the Samoa Joe versus Hangman Page thing. What else can we expect on this? I like Volatile Joe, easily upset to draw a feud. Yeah, it's a respect thing with him. Oh, the way you handled me that title was disrespectful. We're going to fight. Cool, you're Samoa Joe. I buy it. Honestly, one thing I'm a bit worried about in regards to NXT versus TNA Showdown special would have to be the Bound for Glory is on the same weekend as TNA. Yes. Yeah, Bound for Glory is coming up very soon. And what do we have for that? Like, what's really... that feels undercooked too. And isn't that the one where we're supposed to get the Mike Santana payoff that we should have got in New York? We didn't. What else can we expect at Wrestle Dream? Well, I expect a Kenny Omega versus Andrade singles match. Now, a lot of people are saying we should be getting Kenny and Kyle. I think you hold off on Kenny and Kyle. You don't need to go to that so soon. Let Kenny and Kyle Fletcher, let that simmer and build a little bit, because I think that has the potential to be huge when it happens. So I think we're going to get Kenny and Andrade. Hardys versus Dudleys is the big draw. Oh, it is the big draw for Bound for Glory. You're right. Oh my God, Ronan. Hardys versus the Dudleys in 2025. We're 24 years after the peak of that program. That program peaked at WrestleMania 17. Maybe when they did the other match afterwards. No, WrestleMania 17. It peaked. It peaked at WrestleMania 17. We're almost 25 years, a quarter of a century past the peak of what TNA's biggest draw for their biggest / top 2 pay-per-view of the year. Wild. Like a quarter of a century ago. Never changed TNA. A quarter of a century. Like in 2001, if you were running a program in your main event, it would have been, that was a peaked a quarter of a century earlier. It would have been, imagine this, WrestleMania 17, and the main event is Bruno Sammartino versus superstar Billy Graham. In 2001, that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent here, like. That's like, maybe Billy Graham's. Yeah, it might actually be in around that. That's what the Hardys and Dudleys being the biggest draw is now. Kenny needs to be fully fit for the Fletcher feud to get the best. Yes, because the Fletcher, look, the Andrade thing with Kenny, Andrade doesn't need to have an unbelievable match with Kenny. He can have a really good match. Fine. But for Fletcher, being his age, being set up as a future top guy, all that stuff, Fletcher needs to have a great match with Kenny Omega. So you want Omega in the best of his health for the Fletcher stuff. And let it simmer. Give it time. That's the type of thing that Claire was talking about earlier with not building stories. And people are giving out now that they're not getting Fletcher and Omega. The bloody angle only happened 3 weeks ago. There's no rush to do it. Let this thing build. Let Kenny have to work himself through. Kenny should have to be, I don't know, Andrade, Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, Hechicero. You know what I mean? Beat all them before he gets to Kyle. That should be the story. Kyle won't fight Kenny. Then finally, Kenny goes through 5 of his stablemates, 4 of his stablemates, and then Kyle has to face him. And we get a huge match in 4 or 5 months' time. And Kenny doesn't have to run through those guys in 4 weeks. Kenny can wrestle Andrade. Take a month off. Rest. Heal the body. Wrestle Josh Alexander. You know Josh Alexander would love to wrestle Kenny Omega in a singles match at Full Gear. Kenny, take a month off there. Come back. Some special Dynamite. Winter is coming. Wrestle Lance Archer. Great. Thanks, Kenny. Take a month off. Rest. And then you do Kenny and Kyle. Revolution. February. Ribshot's in the chat. Ribshot says Dudleys and Hardys will be a running fest. Look, Devon in particular. Devon's old as shit, man. He's old as shit. These, they're all, look, Matt Hardy can barely move. Jeff struggles at times. Bubba struggles. It's going to have to be a running fest. It's going to have to be. Any other predictions for what we could get on Wrestle Dream? Because we're only 2 weeks out. What day is it? 6th. It's on the... Is it the 18th? 18th of the month? We have 2 Dynamites left, 2 Dynamites and 2 Collisions left to build this. We're going to get 5. We have kind of 4 matches, I think, penciled in, really. I know that Kenny and Andrade is not announced yet, but I expect that'll be announced tomorrow night. Brodito, I expect we're going to get potentially so we're doing that match, double Jeopardy match, which I think is a cool idea. We're getting Brodito versus Takeshita and Okada tomorrow night on Title Tuesday, and if Brodito win, they get singles title shots at Takeshita and Okada's title, or at Okada's title, and if Okada and Takeshita win, they get a tag shot. So I'm assuming Okada and Takeshita are going to win and get a shot at the pay-per-view. So yeah, I think that's probably the tag match, Okada and Takeshita versus Brodito, and I think it's probably at Wrestle Dream where Okada and Takeshita really, because been teasing it. Very kind of slow moving, maybe a bit too slow, but also there's political things to consider with New Japan and when Takeshi is going to get the title there. So I expect maybe it'll be at Wrestle Dream, which when they really pull the trigger on the split between Okada and Takeshi and move into that program. Claire says she loves Kyle, was a fan of Aussie Open for years. I worry to keep pushing him into big matches only to lose. It will spoil his push. He is great, but needs time. Totally agree. And ultimately, Kyle should win the Kenny feud, I think. And that's why I don't think they should rush into it. Build up Kenny for Kyle to beat, basically. And because I think 2026... You can have Kyle lose some big matches. 2025, right? What big matches he lost? He's obviously lost Hangman. He lost the Ospreay feud. So he'll win this Orange Cassidy feud in the end. And then I think he should win. Like, I think 2026 should be a year where he potentially beats Omega in a big time feud and maybe even beats Ospreay in a big time feud. And then you're off to the races. That by 2027 the guy is ready to be a champion, or maybe is even holding the title as we enter 2027. So I do agree with you, he needs time, but I think he should be winning that Kenny feud. AEW does have a habit of pushing young guys and then kind of sort of forgetting about them. An awful habit. Check Daniel Garcia. They've pushed him so many times and then forgot about him, and they've got him over so many times and then forgot about him. Jurassic Express versus the Bucks, yeah, that'll definitely be on the card. Who gets pinned though? I don't know, David. Who the fuck gets pinned? Who do you pin? If you're doing I think you have to pin Okada, because I think right, if you're doing the tag title match at Wrestle Dream, Okada and Takeshita versus Brodito, you have Bandito pin Okada, and then you do a Bandito Okada match for the unified title. And who doesn't want to see a Bandito Okada match? Now, I know Bandito picked up a shoulder injury on Friday night in Arena, Mexico. That's worrying. If he's properly injured, they're just going to take the tag titles off Brodito and have him on Takeshita and Okada for a little while, maybe. It depends on the extent of Brodito's injury. So, yeah, that's worrying. I don't know what the extent of the injury is. He left in a sling. Felt something pop in his shoulder. So yeah, we're looking at these three matches on the screen. And there's surely going to be a Mercedes match. I think that could be set up this week as well. With Suri probably, which would be fucking awesome. I'm going to use Suri as a segue into... Okay, guys. At the very... Oh, wow. Sorry about that. I burst your eardrum. At the very start of the show, we had a comment about, I think it was from, I can't remember, about Noah All Japan potentially overtaking New Japan as the top promotion in Japan. I think the most likely to do that is Stardom. I think Stardom are the most likely. They've stumbled onto something here with Saya Kamitani that is next to impossible to organically create. I spent this weekend binging the last few months of Stardom, and I have to say, this is just a company on fire. It's something that I've been kind of at a distance watching, but anytime I watched it, I liked it. And Kamitani's been on my radar for a while because I'd heard about this unbelievable heel turn last year. But I don't think there's a wrestler in Japan right now more popular than Saya Kamitani. And I don't think there's a wrestler in Japan right now who's having a better year than Saya Kamitani. And I think if you look at the records of Carrican Hall this year, her main events have the top 4 attendances. Ronan says Stardom is the New Japan position 2017. Yes. I had the best time watching this over the weekend. It was incredible. Incredible. I watched Suri and Siori, and I watched a load of the their version of the G1, the Queens, whatever it's called. Karen Queen's Quest. No, that's just Shaw. I think this is a company that within 2 years can do the Tokyo Dome on Kamitani's back. This is a one who, for the first time in 25 years, has gotten Joshi Wrestling onto primetime TV in Japan. Japanese TV doesn't show much wrestling, but they're showing Kamitani. They have her on like the morning show doing interviews and shit like that. She is a huge star since her heel turn. And I'm just going to say, this is on YouTube for free. Saya Kamitani versus Tam Nakano, loser leaves Stardom match. Unbelievable. And the angle they cut after the match to build to a rematch, sensational. I know it was a loser leaves Stardom match and they broke stipulations straight after, but then they did a career versus career match 6 weeks later. Another sellout, or not sellout, but they put 8,000 people in a bigger arena. They had 1,600 at the first one. They had 7,500 a month later at the rematch because the angle on the first match was so good. Just go out, and the both matches Stardom have uploaded for free on YouTube. Go out of your way and watch these. They do. Juggalo has mentioned it there, I think, about they air full free shows on YouTube. David, last Friday they did a full show for free on YouTube. Really great show. And I think, yeah, last Friday gone, they put a free show on YouTube. But what they're doing now every Friday, because Saya Kamitani is on TV every Friday. So what Stardom have been doing, genius, on their YouTube, is uploading a Saya Kamitani match every Friday to match the time that she's on national television in Japan. So when people in Japan Google Saya Kamitani when they watch her on TV, it brings them to the latest match being uploaded by Stardom. This is a company that's getting a boom of growth. As Ronan said, it's New Japan in 2017. Stardom World, I signed up for Stardom World to watch the Tam Nakano and Saya Kamitani match back in March. I watched the match then, thought it was unbelievable, and then I never logged into my World of Stardom account again until this weekend. And I took a couple of days. I had a couple of days off this weekend. I was going to the show in Carlo. I spent the day Saturday watching Stardom. Got back from Carlo, watched more Stardom, and then Sunday got up, watched UFC, and then watched about 4 hours of Stardom. The stuff they're doing now, there's so many great wrestlers. Starlight Kid, Izumi, Kamitani. Like, this is a stacked roster. There's great wrestlers up and down the card. There's a variety of styles. And then they have the hottest top star outside of Mystico at the moment. And someone who I think is in with a real shout of, I think we should be discussing potentially Wrestler of the Year, both for match quality and for being a draw and for creating this unbelievable period of growth for her company. So yeah, just so you know, I'll probably be talking about Stardom more often going forward on the show because it's something I'm going to be watching. Isn't there something so great about getting into a new company that you only have kind of a, like, I knew maybe 7 or 8 of the names, seen maybe 5 matches in the last 5 years. And then you're getting into a company and you're trying to figure out storylines, you're trying to figure out who everyone is, you're trying to figure out the titles, all this kind of stuff. And I'm watching some of it in Japanese commentary, so I don't have the aid of the commentators. It's so much fun getting into a new company. I actually haven't felt like this, like Roland said, since New Japan in 2017. Because when AEW opened, I knew the backstories of all the wrestlers, every wrestler involved essentially, maybe with the exception, and one of the really exciting parts about early AEW was discovering new people for the first time. MJF. Darby Allin, I'd seen him in OTT, but you know, Darby Allin, when Eddie Kingston showed up, I'd seen him a little bit, but you're discovering all these, not you haven't discovered them, but they're new to you. And that's the way I felt with Stardom over this weekend. It was like when I first got New Japan World 8 years ago or 9 years ago, and like I was just like watching all these matches going like, I can't believe what I'm watching. How have I not watched this before? And I just spent, like, I'm trying not, like, watching every match from the last 6 months, but watching loads of matches from the last 6 months, trying to, like, figure out the roster hierarchy and, what's coming up next. And, like, they have a big show coming up the end of the year. It seems to be, I think it's in December. Yeah, it is, right at the end of December. It's in the build-up to WrestleKingdom on the 4th. So I think it's the end of December. That's, like, their big yearly show. And it'll be like a big Kamitani title defense or whatever. And I think now was a great time to try and get in, and so that you have an understanding of what's happening when the big show hits in December. So yeah, super excited about that, because I was just mesmerized all weekend by what the quality of wrestling in the company, the atmosphere and the crowds. Like, and I said this last week, American wrestling crowds are the shittest. I was in an Irish crowd at the weekend, went ballistic in the main event. You watch Mystico in Arena Mexico or anywhere in Mexico, and you have fans at ringside crying. You watch Kamitani in Stardom, you have fans going ballistic in the most earnest, genuine ways that we just don't really see that often. It's like we've ruined wrestling on ourselves in the West, and particularly America, in that the crowd only engage with wrestling now in a kind of semi-ironic way, and there's very little genuine connection. And when the genuine connection happens, it's so great, but it's so rare, in the sense that, like, how many people have really captured that in the last few years? Hangman, to an extent. Punk a few years ago, to an extent. I think Cody had it for a little bit coming up to that WrestleMania 40, but like, it's so rare to, like, really capture fans in this unironic way. And I see it happening with Kamitani, and I see it happening with Mystical. And what's happening with both of those things? They're generating sellouts. They're doing big ticket numbers constantly. Because we, as fans, we don't want it to be ironic. We don't want it to be wink, wink. We want it to be genuine. Because that reminds us of growing up, of whether you were growing up in the John Cena era, you cared. I cared about Bret Hart. It wasn't a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I get that feeling with Mystico, and I get that feeling with Kamitani. The indies, Juggalo, almost constantly have better reactions. Like, one of the best reactions I've seen in years was when Be Cool finally beat Sammy D for the world title in OTT last August. Place went ballistic. And when he returned at the Loco Rumble and won it for the second time, place went ballistic. So great. Real, like, proper crowd reactions. And you get that up and down the indies. Ronan says, so much mainstream US wrestling is the same. It's hard to be excited by the same stuff 3 times in a week, every week. Yeah, fact. I think what wrestling TV is it needs, like, it's basically been going on the same format now since mid-90s, since Nitro started. Like, has the format changed at all? Not really. We might be at a stage where somebody needs to get into a position in creative in one of the top companies that can sell Tony or Triple H or Nick Khan or whoever on some, like, mad fresh ideas that we can't picture right now, that will shake up the format and create a different type of engagement with the product. Like Nitro did, and like, even, maybe give the guy a little bit of credit, that idiot Vince Russo, he did come up with some ways that changed how we engage with wrestling, maybe for the worse long term, but did generate this excitement that was fresh and new. We haven't had, like, in terms of the format, something fresh and new in so long, and I think that's missing. And just when I watched Stardom over the weekend, I felt like it transported me to a different time of my wrestling fandom. This freshness and this newness and this enjoyment and this journey of trying to figure out who the fuck everyone is and what the fuck is the storylines here and I'm not getting help because I don't speak Japanese, and then some of the commentary I'm watching is in Japanese. I'm like, oh, I have to figure this out. But the matches were so great that I was able to figure out essentially what was going on, I think. But yeah, that's been All Elite Morro for today. The chat's been banging. Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Ronan. Thanks, Juggalo. Ribshot. Dave Ayers. Legends. Jamie B. Congratulations again. Shane, congratulations again. Claire, thank you. Chat's been popping. Just talking wrestling. Aaron Reynolds, another legend. Might see you in Drogheda, Aaron. Say hello, please, if I do make it. Ushin, as always, legend. Let's hopping again today. So, Shane, actually, in the comments, right? Shane is starting a new project on the channel where he's like analyzing wrestling's weirdest storylines. And he wants some suggestions. He wants some. Aaron's jumping straight into the Carrick Hall show. You're going to have a great time. David is. Aaron says WWE's so paying by numbers, very rarely a 2 out of 10 show, but never a 10 out of 10. Fact. Ribshot says, I think Saudi will buy WWE. I agree with that. You will hear that on our next podcast. I said it to Shane. It's recorded last Thursday or Friday. It's not released yet, but I think Saudi will buy WWE. And then hire Russo, Cornet, and a moderator to write TV. They'll probably get rid of Triple H anyway. I don't know who they'll hire. Imagine to hire Russo. Jesus, that'd be a night. But Russo and Cornet would be fucking hilarious. I'd love to watch the world burn. So Shane is looking for weird storyline suggestions. So stick some mad weird storyline suggestions in to the chat, and he's doing a new series on the channel on wrestling's weirdest storylines, kind of breaking them down, and he's deadly at editing, so I'm sure it's going to be a really cool series. So we have the new one coming out soon. That's NXT Black and Gold, me and Shane. Wednesday we have Total Extreme Morro, the Great American Bash episode where we get to the final of the 32-man tournament for the World Heavyweight title. A fantastic episode. Fills my heart with joy. It is the exact inverse of 2 weeks ago when Vader got injured. Thank you, everybody. It's been All Elite Morro, where the best talk wrestling.